Munira, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening,
Excellent.
everyone.
Okay. Thanks, Munira, for coming in. I know you rushed back from your meeting in Cyberjaya with the minister. Thanks a lot. So, okay. So today, guys, we are very happy to have with us two distinguished speakers, panelists. One is Dato Munira Lui. She's the founder and CEO of Brand. I think it's called Business Services now, right?
Yeah.
Used to be Brand International, but now Brand International Services, Business Services. And I know one of our clients is Maxis. I don't know the others, but anyway, we'll let her tell us about that in a little while. And the other speaker, panelist, is Chris Heng. Chris Heng is the executive chairman of SP Metal Components. That's maybe not a very well-known name, but what they do is they manufacture a very important part of the motorcycle for Yamaha, the chassis of Yamaha. No? So I think he took over the business from his father, and he has now taken it to high levels. Huh? So we are very happy to have these two great panelists with us. And tonight our topic is racing for full recovery. How about that? So I guess everyone is charging ahead now since the so-called lockdown was lifted and all these travel restrictions were lifted and so on. So we're all moving ahead, but obviously it's a very different market now. And obviously there are a lot of challenges facing us as well, no? And with all these headwinds, whether it's the Russian-Ukraine war, whether it's the oil prices going up and down, whether it's the currency getting weaker and weaker, US dollar getting stronger and stronger, tensions between China and US, whatever, no? There's so many things, logistics issues, supply chain issues. So in the midst of all this, and of course, new competition and all that, so how do we move forward, no? So, okay, so I'm gonna let the two guest panelists give us a bit of background in terms of what they think overall, and then I'll ask a few questions, and then we'll after about half an hour or so, I'm sure you guys have questions you want to ask as well, so I'll leave that for you as well. Okay. So, Dr. Munira, maybe you can tell us a bit about the overview of how you see things and maybe some strategies that you have that you can tell us or your clients have going forward, in this unique situation, shall I say?
Okay. Right. So thanks, Peter, for inviting me for this session, and good evening, everyone. So as introduced, my name is Munira, and I actually run an organization which I founded about 18 years ago. We are very much a consulting and as well as a business process outsourcing company. We have actually survived three main challenges in the environment. One, it's the financial crisis. Then we have the oil crisis, and just recently the COVID pandemic. And as we move forward, I think my basic views is as we begin to interact with our clients, which not only comes from Malaysia, but our clients are very much in the APAC region. And my dialogues with a lot of the C-suite level people represents one of the biggest obstacle or major concerns, which I guess most of us can essentially connect with. It's the inflation is actually eating up on us in as far as this is concerned. So inflation represents a critical risk, if not the number one risk for a lot of us. And this represents a key threat for a lot of organizations in terms of, threats in terms of the revenue as well as our margins. So our margins are getting thinner and thinner, and getting new business is essentially very, very difficult in today's context. People are generally very cautious at this point, so that poses a very major concerns. And obviously back home, the GE15 politically instability, has compounded some of the challenges that we currently face at this point of time. Yeah. And recently, I think most of you have also read about the new COVID variant, which is the XBB,
Yeah.
right? So again, the C-suite's level discussions is also hovering around, will there be a return of a pandemic-related disruptions that's going to come into the business as well?
Yeah.
So I think compounded with this, as what Peter has also mentioned, it's the increase in the geopolitical tensions, has not helped in terms of supporting our business sustainability, as well as, let alone the growth of our business, right? And of course, we are also talking about the increasing cybersecurity risks that is also impacting our business. And I think for us in our business, which is primarily very much a people business, the scarcity as well as cost of attracting and in retaining the right talents is a major concern for us, right? So I think these are some of the things that represents the key dialogues that I see, and probably things that I can connect with, because this is something that I personally, as an organization, do experience at this point of time. So I'm going to just stop here and probably get Chris to kind of talk a little bit about setting the landscape and the scenes, in terms of what essentially we are all facing at this point.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Munira, for that landscape overview. Okay, Chris, what would you like to add to that? Maybe you want to go into your manufacturing industry, or do you want to go overview? Up to you.
Okay. Yeah, I think I will share from the manufacturing point of view, because manufacturing is part of the process inside the whole ecosystem that you cannot delete off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say the first of all, I just a little bit of my background.
Yep.
We are manufacturing the motorbike chassis for Yamaha motorbike, and we produce about 600 motorbikes every single day, right? Of course, we also have clients all around the world. We export to Japan, Europe as well, right? So these 3 years has been really challenging because the whole world ecosystem is shaken, right? And we can't really say apply this technique to all the clients, because every single ecosystem is completely different, right? I just take some context. Let's say, like in Japan, we are exporting to Japan. The competitors are from China. So when China got locked down, they come to us. So it's kind of a good thing instead of a bad thing, right? Like for Europe, yes, they are not doing well because of all the Russia thing, and the US China thing is they are not doing that well, and therefore the consumption drops, and therefore our sales to that area of the world also drops, right? The logistic is too high to make sense, right? From all this sense, I would say look into the ecosystem that you're serving, and go back to the basis of humanity. The basis of human is we serve with our gift for human. That means as simple as in a village, if I produce bread, it's for the village. I produce the meat, is for the village. So we serve one another to sustain this ecosystem. So when the whole ecosystem is shaken, actually everyone retreats. And I see a big retreat back to their home country. That they keep their ecosystem within their own country for survival at this moment, right? And kind of for manufacturing, we are in a very sweet spot at this moment, because everyone retreat to Southeast Asia.
Yes.
Right. So I would say yes, look into the whole picture of the ecosystem and apply back the basis of just being a human, and the answers will be there.
Okay. I like that analysis that you use, the framework that you use. So looking at the big picture of where, in your case, you gave a specific example where the demand from Japan increased. However, it was kind of offset by the drop in demand in Europe. And then when you trace back what you need to do in basics, go back to basics, huh? Yeah, okay. All right. Great. Okay. Okay, so my next question for you guys is, hang on. So what would be some of the biggest obstacles for full recovery that you see, both in your business or your client's business, no? So maybe Mundira, you can start. What are some of the key obstacles that you see? You mentioned earlier about competitive pricing and margin of impact and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's primarily the first key focus for my organization. As shared, we are an outsourcing company. So what we typically do is we actually help clients to create business value and enhance their customer experience by them outsourcing their customer management function to us. So which means that every customer touch points and every customer contact comes to us, and you find therefore that the number one key strategy for a lot of companies, it's how do I boost customer loyalty, right? And the way to do this for us, it's how do we enable our customers and our clients by using technology. I think I was hearing some people were talking about how do you digitalize your business, and I've always said that digital transformation used to be a smart strategy, but today it is a survival strategy for a lot of people. So I think the key really is how do you boost your customer loyalty and in the process acquire new customers. It's obviously the number one agenda, because that will essentially drive your revenue, which is your top line, right? And then and using technology, right, as the enabler. And I guess if you were to prioritize your investments and your spend, digitalization and will probably be your number one priority in as far as spend is concerned, while at the same time internally looking at ways of how to manage your cost. Cost management becomes again another key strategic and agenda for a lot of organizations. And when we talk about cost management, it's really about how you enhance your productivity by doing more with less people, right? So I think it's really about very critically looking at internally, by product line, by markets, to understand your financial, your costing, right? In terms of your margins for each of the products, margins that you're getting from each of the markets, and be prepared to kind of make very hard decisions in terms of when I should stop doing something, right? It's difficult. Yeah. But it is times like this where if it is not profitable, we should be we should stop the bleeding, basically, that, right? Okay. And of course, at the same time, companies now needs to look at the way that we develop our pricing model. How do we go to the market, right? If your pricing model today is one-off charge out, then you kind of have to work extremely hard, right? Because once your project finish, then you have to work hard to kind of bring in another customer. So you kind of need to change. I mean, you probably know that a lot of the technology companies now typically look at the SaaS model. So which means, you have a retainer, right? Every month you have a billing and you kind of get recurring income stream, right? So I think the ability to price, come up with innovative pricing model now becomes important as well. Yeah. Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you, because you have to invest in technology. I know you probably invested quite a lot of technology in equipment, software and all that. But then obviously it's cost, right? Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up. So cost containment and cost control and all that. and then also
Yes.
protecting your margins, right? Because
Correct.
I think what early on we heard from the other speakers were, hey, I know digitalization is very good, but it costs money, you know. So I
Yeah.
guess what you're saying is you have to do the costing, work out the
Right.
sums, and see
Yeah.
what works for you, lah. So
Yeah.
what you're saying is in
Exactly.
your case, you went for improved productivity, right?
Yes.
So there's some
Yes.
savings there to offset
Yes.
the cost of the additional cost of the infrastructure or the technology or the equipment or the software or the whatever, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
And of
fantastic.
course, obviously, thanks to the concept of work from home, right?
Mm,
So I guess the hybrid model of working becomes the new norms for a lot of us, right?
mm,
And you know, it makes a lot of sense to not push people to come back to the office if you
yes,
could, because then you kind of reduce your office space
yes,
and your renter, and that's again another gold mine within the
yes,
organization, right?
yes,
That you can kind of manage those cost aspect of it.
yeah.
So I guess it's a two-pronged strategy, you know, looking at ways of how do you grow your market, grow your revenue, but at the same time be very cautious about your spend,
Mm,
and kind of maximize your margin, because there's just so much uncertainty out there. So I think it's
yes.
important to kind of trend carefully. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Thanks. That's
Yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
especially for service
Thanks.
businesses, right, where one of the big
Yes.
chunks of cost is rental, right? Your
Yeah.
office costs.
And
So like,
people and
yeah, and
people
people,
cost.
no? So people
Yeah.
and the space, no? So
Yeah.
you can have savings there or efficiency there. That's fantastic, right?
Correct. So
So if you have,
the more you digitalize, the better it will be, right?
yes,
Because now you don't have to rely too much on people to do
yeah.
work, right? So that's why we kind of invested in robotics, using robots, you know, to kind of perform the low value activities and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So two aspects. One is people, improve
Yeah.
productivity so that you
Yeah.
don't let your costs escalate like crazy. And the other one is rental of space and all that, no, office costs, from air
Mm.
conditioning to renovations to expansion. So if you take on another 100 staff, right, in your case, few hundred staff, let's say you add on, that's
Yeah.
going to be like, got to double, I mean, got to increase your office space by 25%. That's a lot of money. But because you
Yes.
now have work from home, there's a hybrid system. So maybe they can share desks, no?
Yeah.
You use this desk Monday to Wednesday, then when you go off Thursday, Friday, he uses it, no? That kind of thing. Or the
Yeah,
alternate week,
so
whatever.
yeah, so
Yeah.
what we do is we practice it's like an incentive for our employees.
Mm,
Primarily, you know, if you're a performer and performers requires little or minimal supervision. So these are the ones that worked very hard to kind of, you know, work that allows them to work from home,
okay.
because that's like an incentive. But
Mm,
if you know, if you are a low performer and requires a lot of coaching and things like that,
supervision and all
then
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
then you have to come to
Okay.
the office,
All
right?
right.
And we make it very team based, so you know, it's like everyone is responsible for each other. So if
Mm,
all we have to do is, if one person in the team don't perform, then the whole team comes back, right?
wow.
So we kind
Okay.
of put responsibility to the team.
Yeah.
So we kind of look out for each other, right?
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think that that's something that we kind of do creatively, you know,
Mm,
you know, to actually have to raise the bar in as far
yeah,
as
yeah.
performance is concerned. Yeah.
All right. Reminds me of my school teacher those days, though. Two guys
Yeah.
make a lot of noise. The whole class
Yeah.
cannot find each other. Then we go and kill those two guys.
Yeah.
Right? Next time, you better don't do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
True.
Okay, great. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Chris, what's your take on this situation in terms of, what obstacles and then what strategies to overcome them, that kind of thing?
Okay, there's a lot of obstacles that we have to go through.
Yeah.
But let me share with you the most successful one.
Okay.
Among all my customers, I would say it's the most complex one also, but they are the most successful one. That's the Yamaha. So I'm fortunate to be able to work alongside with them, the Yamaha group, and in Malaysia is the Hong Leong group.
Mm,
They are very efficient people. The obstacles come from all angles at the lockdown. So firstly is if they raise the price, raw material price is increasing, everything is increasing. If they raise the price, it will disrupt the ecosystem of the people. But thank God that delivery business becomes a hot thing. and the sales of the motorbike is skyrocketing,
Mm.
right? And how are we going to overcome all these things when you have lockdown in China? Parts have to be supplied from China. Sometimes material comes from China. In our case, it's like one supplier face problem, the other 100 suppliers have to sit there, do nothing, right? And we face issues like we used to be running production at 2 weeks schedule,
Mm.
and all of the sudden it's a daily schedule. That means we are supposed to deliver this for the next 2 weeks, and suddenly they'll say we change the whole schedule tomorrow.
Hmm.
So whatever you have planned to run, you might have already built up like 1 week stock or 3 days stock. It's all a waste. We don't need it anymore. Please change and supply the other parts. And we need it very urgently. So these are the things that happen. And
Okay.
it's
So-
very hard to communicate with 100 suppliers, and you need the change tomorrow, but they made it happen,
Okay.
right?
So
And
how did you do that? What's the secret? Ha.
to us, it's like we are so used to this that we have to immediately let go whatever planning we have in our ERP, because it doesn't work anymore. You have to go back to manual. You have to go back to manual because the ERP wasn't programmed that way,
Ayo.
correct? It was programmed in a certain way.
Yes.
So immediately we go back to WhatsApp, all this kind of thing. Communication is done this way, and no matter what, you just have to find a way to deliver tomorrow.
Mm.
So
Wow.
now our planning is daily. It's no longer 2 weeks.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
daily
All right.
planning.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you got to be very nimble, huh, Chris?
Yeah, I would say the faster you react, the further you can see in the whole ecosystem. Even the Yamaha group is asking us to list down your chain of suppliers upstream, 5 levels.
Wow.
5 levels,
levels.
not one or two. You have to trace all the way until China or Japan,
Wow.
which steel mill, and what's the
Wow.
possibility of having issues. So these are all the things because they're very fast and efficient and fast reaction.
Mm.
That's why I would say for the past 3 months, it was record sales in
Mm.
a lifetime,
Wow.
right? So
So you're having a windfall, my friend. You're having a windfall. Fantastic.
you need the whole team to be together. If not, it
Yes.
won't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be aligned, huh?
Yes.
Fantastic. So
Yes.
those of you in the manufacturing industry, here's some tips for you. Excellent. Thanks. Okay, great. So those are some great strategies we hear from the services side as well as from the manufacturing side. And well, when it comes to tough times like this, right? We always talk about cash flow protection, right? How to shield ourselves, how to protect your cash and so on. So in terms of financing or financial strategies, what sort of approach or what kind of strategies would you suggest? No? So maybe you can start with Chris.
Think back to whatever the financial planner taught us. Keep 6 months, 6 months safety, right? But no such thing as 6 months not running in business. So actually, normally we don't keep so much. But when the pandemic comes, it just shake our head belief system that something is not right. We need to change, right? So
Yeah.
actually, what we are looking at is we go back to the whole ecosystem. It's like we have been working for 10 months but paying 12 months salary. But in reality, the demand in the market is still 12 months. That means we are racing to fulfill the market demand. We are back scheduled, right? We are chasing a 4 months backlog for the past 2 years.
Wow.
Because the demand did not stop.
Hmm.
Although pandemic stopped, but demand did not stop.
That's a very interesting insight, no? Yeah.
Right. So we are so sure that it's confirmed it's coming back. We are chasing only. So the budgeting, everything becomes easier.
Yeah.
When you have foresight into the whole ecosystem.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very interesting insight. So what you're saying is we have 12 months, but 10 months of production, even though you pay 12 months salaries. But the worst part of it is the supply didn't, I mean, the demand didn't stop. Our supply stopped, but demand. That's why now we're catching up with so much back orders and all that. Yeah. I hear a lot of people in manufacturing industries having that backlog problem, no? So
Yeah.
now they're having all kinds of supply chain issues and so on. Interesting. Okay. All right. Great. Let's move to Munira. What's your input on this? Financing and how to shield yourself and all that financially.
Yeah, I guess for us, it's cash flow is it's essentially very important because we paying salaries it's our number one priority every month, right? We have 1,000 people working in my organization, and we are talking about averaging a cash flow of about 4 to 5 million per month in terms of payroll.
Wow.
And typically the credit terms, it's a large of our number of our companies that we serve are essentially MNCs, right? So their credit terms typically it's about 45 to 60 days. So essentially you kind of need to have a cash ready,
Yeah.
to be able to tie you down for at least 3 months.
Yes.
In order for you to be sustainable now, right?
Yeah.
And I guess if you look at it from a cash flow perspective, many things that we could do. One, what we have done very successfully, it's putting focus on client management and delivering on our promise, right? And of course, when clients are happy and you manage a good relationships, typically most of our clients, instead of following the agreement that they'll pay you in 60 days, they kind of pay you earlier, right? So I think when you shorten your receivables, that essentially helps with your cash flows, right? So I think that's really one thing that we do. Of course, we bill very fast, so you kind of need to have a process, jobs delivered straight away. The next thing you do is you kind of issue an invoice, because again here in our nature of the business, you kind of incur the cost first, right? And then only you deliver the service, then only you bill the client. Yeah. So as such, you need to have a very robust sales management system, right? As well as your payables and receivables process, to ensure that your DSR is maintained itself.
Okay.
And of course, you kind of need to have a buffer in terms of to help you with your eventuality, right? In the end, if there is a payment delay, you still need to have the excess cash. And I guess we kind of depend on overdraft facility and use it when you need to, right? So I think, again, going to the banks, and today we it's relatively much easier to get funding and financing from the banks. So I guess that's a means to help us with the the cash flow aspect of it. And of course, we again try to maximize again the margins. The revenue needs to come in, and then managing our costs. So all these things will improve our overall P&L every month, right?
Okay. Great, excellent. Yeah. So I hear that financing from banks now is a lot more easier, but of course there's still some costs involved, right? Yeah. The cost of funds, but you're right, have that buffer ready. So having an overdraft, and you don't go and look for overdraft when you need it, right? So you have it ready. Yeah. Okay. Great, excellent. Okay. The other thing is, of course, Munira, I guess in times like this, or even before, you probably want to diversify your income streams, right? So I guess you don't just focus on business process also, even if that's your biggest chunk. I guess you would have 2, 3 other divisions, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do.
Okay.
And obviously the focus is to go for high margin business. So it really depends on your product lines, right? Some product lines has low margins but volume business, but there's some part of the business that actually gives you higher margins, right? So it has been the focus for us in the last 12 months to to go for high margin business as well,
Okay.
because that ultimately will improve our bottom line, right, and cash flow as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Mm.
So one last question for the two of you, know. So I'm always proposing that we collaborate with people, no? And
Yeah.
that's what I guess ProfitMAX, one of the pillars is collaboration, right?
Right.
And I guess in times like this where we are really under stress, it's good to collaborate with other people so that you can
Yeah.
leverage on each other's strengths, huh?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
would you have an example or one or two examples either with your clients or yourself, how you have kind of used collaboration to stimulate growth or profit or bottom line or top line or whatever?
We have been doing this for a long time, simply because for us, we are in the service sector, and we drive business transformation initiatives for the clients, right? And when we talk about transformation strategies, it will entail not just process re-engineering and change management on the part of the people, but it's how do you enable the organizations through technology, right? So
Yep.
we worked with a lot. We are not a technology company. So what we do is we therefore collaborate with various technology partners, to work together to provide what we call the end-to-end solutioning. So the partners that we have essentially is we have the top tier, where we have the Cisco and the Genesis partners, and then we have the mid tier, and of course we also do have the lower tier. So it really depends very much on the client's budgets. Then we kind of choose the appropriate partner to collaborate to provide the end-to-end solutioning to the clients as well.
Excellent.
So that's from a product value proposition. But we also do a lot of collaborations in terms of market accessibility. So we do not the markets that we serve, as I've mentioned, is ASEAN and APAC regions, right? So if I want to go into Cambodia, so typically we don't want to go in with greenfield, right? So it's nothing like working again with partners, to actually expand and grow the businesses there itself. So that's another form of collaborations that we do as well.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. Chris, what about you? Some thoughts and ideas in how we can or how you have collaborated with others?
Yeah, like I say, we are very fortunate to learn from Hong Leong Group. They
Yeah.
are like that. So part of the reason we are being trained to weld the whole chassis is because they cannot afford to weld in-house because the cycle time is too long. Because they need to come out with thousands of motorbikes every single day. Right? So they bring this part to our factory. At the same time, we bring other parts to our suppliers.
Wow.
So we build out our suppliers to be able to do higher value jobs, and we move ourselves to a higher value chain. Right? As for the other collaboration for overseas, we always stick to our value where we are strong in. We don't handle things that we are not good in. So we always stick to products that puts together like 50 components have to go through 200 processes. We focus there. Then we get the suppliers to supply in parts that only has 3 to 4 process. Even sometimes like logistic warehouse, we work with warehouses that can handle that and supply to the client in Japan instead of we deal direct with the Japan client. And there could be another party that provide the finance for the whole project because we refuse to be funding it, right?
Yeah.
So we always be very clear on where we are good at, where we are not good at, we find the best partner to work with.
Excellent.
So the risk will be to the lowest if we go on this kind of collaboration.
Okay.
All right.
It's good, very good. And it's a win-win, right?
Yes.
So their weakness is probably your strength, their strength is your weakness, that kind of thing. Excellent, excellent. Okay, great. So with that, I'd like to thank both of you, Munira as well as Chris, for your excellent sharing. I think the guys are getting a lot of it. So, and we don't have much time, so I'm going to open up to the floor. If you guys have any questions for the panel, please go ahead. And if you want to type it in or you can unmute yourself, up to you. Please go ahead. Any questions for them? Or me? No questions? Oh, you're racing full steam already, eh? Okay, if there are no questions, I'm going to stop the recording.
Yeah, I got a question for Dr. Munira.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned about the XBB subvariant. So how is your company or management planning to deal with all these potential new subvariants that's coming out over the next few months? Because winter is supposed to be the best time for all these outbreaks to reappear on a big, very large scale. So,
Yeah.
and then the second item that you mentioned earlier was cybersecurity. Have you what were the issues that you have faced, and then how did you overcome it with regards to cybersecurity on a company basis and possibly on an individual basis as well.
Sure.
Because for me nowadays, based on what I've read in the news, I really don't feel confident about our banking system nor the safety of our credit cards or our bank accounts.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Go, for the question. I guess the good thing about the COVID containment is that we are now not operating on the unknown, right? We already have ready policies and processes that is in place, right? So it's a matter of switching it on, if anything does happen. But just to give you some element of context, while the Malaysia has has reduced the control of mask wearing, for us we still maintain that at the workplace that everybody continue to wear the mask. So I guess it's left entirely up to the respective companies to mandate or put in policies in place to do this. And it's extremely important for us as well, because we do not only serve local markets, but we also serve global markets as well. So I think we do have the policies in place that allows us to kind of prepare for the next potential lockdown. And in as far as our operations are concerned, all our we have converted all our working tools from desktop to laptops. So this was done during the pandemic. So the minute the lockdown comes in, everyone will just take their laptop, go back and switch everything on. So we have invested in the work from home technology, so to allow for people to kind of very quickly switch on and conduct his business. In fact, if you ask me, in Malaysia, our infrastructure and our network has been very, very stable during the pandemic. We surpassed our ability, our resilience to conduct our business during the lockdown, surpass our performance against India as well as in Philippines. And in fact, it was because of COVID, our business grew by 200%.
Wow.
All right. So we in fact, our revenue doubled. I think Peter knows about it. I've been sharing it in this group as well. So we were performing 2 years. We had the record years for us, simply because the readiness of the company, as well as Malaysia in specifically in the overall context. So I think again, the fortunate thing is we are not working on the unknown at this point. So we already have existing policies that we can rely on. Now, as far as cybersecurity is concerned, the way that we operate in an outsourcing company, it's that it is essentially very, very tight. It is a paperless environment. We do not allow when our staff come to work, their bags, their phones, everything goes into the locker. So by the time they walk into the operations floor, they have nothing. So this is a way to actually reduce
Does that
any
include
potential.
does that include
Yeah,
the
yeah.
mobile phones?
Yeah,
okay.
no
All right.
mobile. So
Okay.
they kind of so this is to avoid potentially data stealing, right?
Yeah.
So that is and they at the point of recruitment, they also sign the PDPA forms as well. Now, beyond this, obviously, when they work from home, we already have a technology in place that tracks the performance of the staff. We actually know which how many applications or how many link or websites they go to, and if they're going to a link or a website that is not relevant to the job, we can see it, and immediately we have the supervisors which will quickly jump in to actually have the conversation and coach the particular person. So everything is essentially tracked, to ensure that we maintain that data security and privacy in that sense. So and when clients are on board their projects to us, very stringent audits does happen before they pass on the projects to us. We have been audited many times by Bank Negara to ensure those data security is in place. And anything that is not in place, we would not have got a renewal license to conduct the fintech business that we do have. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks. I think that helps a lot, right, Go?
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else has questions?
Yeah, I got a question for Chris. With regards to the supply chain now and versus the forex exchange, the fluctuation and the weakening of the ringgit versus US dollar and a lot of the other currencies. So our companies are actually sometimes dependent on purchasing items from overseas. So like for your company, how do you handle this weakening of the ringgit?
Okay, thanks, Go. On this, actually, we like I mentioned just now, we focus on what we are good at. We don't want to focus on what we are not good at. So we pass the risk away. So we pretty much, if we can deal in RM, we deal in RM, even for overseas customer. But let's say if you have to buy in USD, we have the contract with our customers on the 6 months review or 3 months review of the pricing, and we are allowed to adjust only on the raw material, which is an open book. So if the raw material increase is a market price, they know they will. In other words, we have to kind of bear the cost for the 3 months, then we get paid on the 4th month. So for these 3 years, pretty much you can say from 2020, the lockdown, the raw material of steel has increased like $3 to $6. That's 100%. But have you ever seen the motorbike price increase 100%? No, right? So who has been subsidizing? Actually, we are subsidizing. Yamaha is subsidizing so that the whole market do not panic. Right? So when the raw material drops, it takes time to adjust the price, but you cannot adjust immediately. So over a long period, now is the raw material is downtrend. So we are getting much more profit compared to earlier on, because now the raw material is dropping, buying at cheaper price, but we are getting paid a higher price because it's an average over 6 months. So again, it's the whole look at the whole big picture in the long run. Do the calculations properly. It can be absorbed. in that sense
Hmm.
properly.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris. Okay.
Grace, do you know why your input cost for raw material is coming down recently?
Okay, China is not consuming. Their construction is not consuming. So there's too much stocks.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yep.
Chris, one question, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, I came across the same issues also. Any possibility one of my customer, so I told him I need to increase the price because US dollar go up. So he actually advised me to talk to the supplier to trade in their currency. Let's say I'm buying from China, so we should ask him to quote in in China renminbi instead of US dollar, because the US fluctuation like today go up to 4.9, out of nowhere, you see. So it's actually this kind of scenario it's not good for businesses, because for business to prosper, to grow, we need stability, exchange rate, you see. So the sudden spikes of this increase in US dollar is actually, to the other party who's the seller, quote in US dollar, of course he's happy, he's laughing to the bank because he get extra, few percent of, maybe that could be the profit, extra additional profit. But on the other side, as a customer, right, then we are standing at the losing side. So I told today I told my supplier in Thailand. So finally I talked to him. He also agreed, to trade in Thai baht lah. He give us in Thai baht. Because what happened is that I noticed that the US dollar, when it go up, right, around our region, China currencies, Malaysia's currency, the rest also dropping compared with US dollar. So it's actually, there's no added value for the price to increase. But because of the fluctuations, the US dollar increase, so it actually eats into your margin and giving it to the other side. So it's not fair to us, and it's actually interrupt the business, the business trading. So I told them, if you insist on using US dollar, I can't do the business with you because I cannot manage the US currency. So the boss also agreed. So I think we managed to talk to all our supplier now. I think the final one was the Thailand. So all of them agreed to trade from the China supplier. Also, we trade in their renminbi, which means you quote me in renminbi, I will, of course, we have go through US dollar to convert back to the renminbi. But overall, the impact will be very minimal.
Okay.
That's how we overcome.
Great. That's a great one. And I hope more people do that so that we break out of this silly, what you call US dollar dependence on their foreign reserve, because they're seen as a foreign reserve backing, no? Okay, that's one. Second thing is just to let everyone know, if you guys need any renminbi transactions, one of our members is a senior guy in the China Construction Bank, and so we can link you up, no problem. Probably get some good rates too. Okay, anything else?
Actually, as at now, yen and euro has come down a lot, even in ringgit terms. So I'm buying some material from Japan. I buy in yen. I used to pay very much with you. So recently has come down quite a lot.
Yes, a lot. I think it's now the lowest in 20 years or something like that, right?
I think even if the this crisis is over, China, Ukraine, something will not go back to old days. Like for instance, Australia used to supply a lot of coal and iron ore to China.
Yeah.
Now China has developed a new market source from outer Mongolia.
Yeah.
Things back to normal, there will be excess because there are new sources over the last 1-2 years.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thanks. So guys, if there are no more questions, I'd like to wrap it up. Yeah.
Question for you, Peter.
Yes.
Based on your crystal ball, how you see the next 1 year for Malaysia and Malaysian businesses?
Okay. So first of all, I ain't got no crystal ball, but from what I know, from what I've read, what I learned, what I think, and what I hear from others, I think everybody knows, right? Next year is not going to be rosy, no. At least for the first 6 months, I think it will definitely not be rosy. But hopefully, with a new government, hopefully we can start to see some turnaround in the second half, lah. But then this is all a guessing game, no. We cannot predict whether US going to do something silly and send a warship to Taiwan, or we never know. But in just going on current situation, assuming it's status quo, first half of next year is going to be tough. So brace yourselves. But of course, you get people like Chris and Munira, come what may, they still grow, no? Haha. All right. Okay. So on that note, I'd like to thank everyone for this, especially Munira and Chris, fantastic inputs. I think everyone benefited from this. So we have a few minutes left. I'd like to go back to the people who haven't had their chance to kind of share what they do and their wish list, if they could.